Imagine this. In the heart of Alexandria, behind the walls of an old villa, there was a hidden secret no one knew. A brutal crime, innocent blood, and a mystery that puzzled everyone. Two Greek sisters living in peace and isolation. And suddenly, their home turns into a crime scene. Who's the killer? And why? Was it a robbery gone wrong? Or is there a deeper secret? Get ready to dive with me into one of the strangest and most shocking crimes that shook Egypt in the 1990s. Stay with me until the end. Welcome to your channel, Unanswered Logic. In the early 1990s, in Egypt, in the governorate of Alexandria, and in one of its most beautiful and prestigious neighborhoods, there stood a small villa in the Gleem area. This villa was owned by two Greek women, sisters named Katerina and Maria. They had lived together since birth, raised and grown up in Alexandria. After the death of their parents, they were left all alone, as most of their family had long since returned to Greece, and they had no way of reaching them. Their lives were simple, with very limited social interactions. The two sisters opened a small sweet shop, and thanks to the delicious taste and the beauty of their creations, the little shop flourished. Customers came from all over Alexandria. The shop had its own unique charm. From the moment you walked in, you felt like you had traveled back in time. This was due to the old-style reception, the classic decor, the staff uniforms, and the graceful way they treated customers. Katerina and Maria spent their lives together. Despite receiving many marriage proposals over the years, they never married, partly due to an intense fear of marriage and personal reasons. Time passed, and soon both women were in their 60s. Their deep loneliness grew into an overwhelming fear of the unknown. They began to believe they were constantly at risk of envy, curses, and black magic. Katerina, for example, developed a daily ritual. Every morning before opening the shop, she would sprinkle seawater at the door, believing it would break any spell placed on them. Word spread, and soon everyone who knew them believed the sisters were obsessed with the idea of envy and witchcraft. Fears that only worsened as they aged and became more isolated. One day, specifically in late December 1993, just a few days before New Year's Eve, the young men and women who worked at the shop arrived on time, only to find the shop door locked, something that had never happened before. Katerina and Maria were never late. If they had any issue, at least one of them would always come to open the shop and hand over responsibilities to the shop manager. After waiting half an hour, one of the girls went to a nearby shop with a landline phone and tried calling the sisters at their villa. No one answered. A young man then decided to walk to the villa, which was conveniently close to the shop. He knocked repeatedly, but again, there was no response. He returned to the others, and they all grew increasingly worried. They waited at the shop door for more than 3 hours, hoping the sisters would show up. Eventually, they agreed that the girls would head home while the boys stayed to wait longer. But as the hours dragged on, fatigue set in, and by late at night, they all gave up and returned home. The next day, the entire group, boys and girls, arrived again at the shop on time, only to find it still locked. This time, their worry turned into alarm. It was unthinkable that the sisters would disappear 2 days in a row. Without wasting time at the shop, they all went to the villa. Again, no answer at the door. One of the young men spoke to the doorman of the neighboring building, asking if he had seen the sisters the previous day or that morning. The doorman replied that he hadn't seen either of them since yesterday and knew nothing about their whereabouts. After discussing possible scenarios, the group decided to report the matter to the police. Two of the young men went to the nearest police station to file a missing persons report, sharing everything they knew. The police quickly took the matter seriously. Investigations confirmed that Katerina and Maria had been missing for 2 days under suspicious circumstances. A decision was made to break into the villa. As soon as the police broke open the door, they were met with chaos. The villa was a complete mess. Room after room was searched. The villa had 4 large bedrooms. The first 2 were ransacked, while the other 2 were locked. When they opened one of the locked rooms, they found one of the sisters lying on the bed, murdered with a deep slash across her neck. Evidence suggested she had fought back, judging by the condition of the bed. In the final room, they found her sister, killed in exactly the same manner, also on her bed. The police secured the scene and set up a perimeter. Investigators questioned neighbors and anyone who might have interacted with the sisters, but due to the women's isolated lives, no one had visited them or had useful information. Back then, security cameras were not common, and the upscale neighborhood was the kind where residents kept to themselves. After questioning the shop workers, the investigation hit a dead end. There were no solid leads, and eventually, the case was closed as an unknown perpetrator. Months passed, until March, when a man named Abdel Salam El Mohammadi, the owner of an antiques and rare collectibles shop, contacted the police. He reported a young man in his late 20s who had come into his shop trying to sell rare stamps. Abdel Salam described the man as simple-looking, wearing shabby clothes, and clearly from a rural background. The young man pulled an album of stamps from under his sweater, nervous and shifting his eyes around. He wanted to know the value of the stamps. As Abdel Salam inspected the album, he realized the stamps were extremely rare and hard to obtain. Curious, he asked where the young man had gotten them. The man nervously claimed they were inherited from his grandfather. Suspicious, but pretending to believe him, Abdel Salam smiled and said, "Your grandfather must have had quite the taste to collect these." He told the young man he would buy them, but needed until the next day to prepare the money. The young man wanted to close the deal immediately, but Abdel Salam insisted, giving him a £10 deposit, a significant amount in the 1990s, and asked him to leave the album behind. The young man refused, but agreed to return the next day. Abdel Salam managed to keep 2 stamps as collateral. The next day, police officers hid throughout the shop waiting. Right on time, the young man entered, still hiding the album under his sweater. Once Abdel Salam confirmed it was the same album, he raised his hands, the signal for the police. Within seconds, they swarmed and arrested the man, fearing he might be armed. The suspect was taken in for questioning. He claimed the stamps were his inheritance, but under pressure, he changed his story, saying a friend had given him the album to sell. His inconsistent statements deepened police suspicions. A search of his room revealed additional stolen items, small antiques, evening dresses, and women's handbags. Confronted with the evidence, he finally confessed. His name was Shaaban, 29 years old, from the Sharqiya Governorate. He had moved to Alexandria 3 years earlier and worked as a deliveryman for a gas cylinder distribution warehouse. He recounted how, about a year earlier, he was delivering a gas cylinder to a villa in Gleem, where one of the sisters had called him over to help install it in the kitchen. Pleased with his help, she paid him extra and asked him to return regularly, as their old supplier had stopped coming. Over the following months, Shaaban learned about the sisters' lives, their loneliness, and their work. Sometimes they even gave him sweets when he passed by while they were baking. But in early December, he received a call from his younger brother back in the village, urgently asking for money to help their sick father. Shaaban was broke. He had spent all his money on hashish and hadn't paid his room rent in 2 months. Desperate, he decided the only way out was to rob the sisters, but to avoid being identified, he planned to kill them first. He chose a night just before New Year's Eve, knowing they'd likely have a lot of cash on hand from holiday orders. He prepared everything, a knife he had bought specifically, tools to break into the house, and waited for a stormy winter night to cover the noise. Before dawn, he jumped over the villa's wall, broke in through the kitchen door, and knowing the house layout from previous visits, went straight to the bedrooms. In one room, he smothered Maria with a pillow and slit her throat when she resisted. He then did the same to Katerina in the next room. After confirming they were dead, he ransacked the rooms, expecting to find cash and gold. Instead, he found only modest savings, some valuables, and a small safe inside the closet containing papers and a stamp album. Although he didn't know the album's worth, he figured anything kept in a safe must be valuable. Shaaban sold what little gold he found and sent the money to his father for surgery. He later began asking around about the album's worth and was eventually directed to the antiques shop, leading to his capture. After his full confession, Shaaban was held in custody for 15 days before his case was transferred to court. In the end, he was sentenced to death. This case became a chilling example of the saying, "Beware of the evil of those you do good to." And here our story ends, but the questions remain. Did justice truly take its course? Or are there secrets buried with the past that we'll never uncover? These crimes remind us that sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to support me with a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming strange and mysterious stories. Stay tuned for the next episodes, and always be ready for surprises.